Good evening, Thunder Wizards. I want to talk to you about a subject I've talked about a lot, but it is a subject that is so deep, I don't know that we can ever fully comprehend it or understand it, but we can learn how to apply it. So, as many of you know who are following, the drama of my life, I am about ready to completely rewrite myself. I am leaving everything behind. I don't really have anything left anyway. But I'm leaving everything behind here in the United States. I'm getting rid of everything and I'm going to live out of a suitcase, and I'm going to start by going to Australia and stay there for I don't know how long. I may have to stay there for a few months and then leave and then come back because of the visa scenario that they have over there, but that's my plan. And so I have this opportunity to completely rewrite my life, start all over again. I have a unique opportunity because I have nothing, literally nothing. I have no kids. I have no property. My business is this now 13-inch laptop is my business. And as long as I have internet, I've got my business with me, so it doesn't matter where I am. And, I don't have any people holding me back. I've got a few friends from many years ago, but I haven't talked to most of them. There's only one or two people that I even talk to at all. So I have this tremendous opportunity to completely rewrite my life. And so I wanted to talk to you about that. What I want to talk to you about is I want to talk to you about past life karma that you bring with you into this life, which creates the backstory in your mind. I want to talk to you about the people in your past and people who may be in your life whom you use to create a backstory for your life. And I want to talk to you about how to explore using the power of Wyrd, which is the ancient understanding of the weaving of space-time, which we think of as destiny, but it's not destiny. Destiny, when you use the word destiny, it sounds like somebody's written a script for you and there it is and you have to play it out. And that's not how it works. The truth is that you write the script for yourself. You write the characters in your life. And it's more challenging if you have people in your life that you have to work with, get along with, please, because they give you a script as well. And you create your character based on that script. So it's a script that you write, but it's a cooperative thing. You write your own script with other people. And you are the ultimate editor and director of your story, so you can choose which scripts you want and which ones you want to throw away. But, lots of times we allow our script to be written, and it's not our ideal story. We do it to make other people happy. So imagine you're a movie producer, and there's a script that's been written, and you're sleeping with the actress and you've promised her the lead role. And she comes to you and she says, I've rewritten my part. And she's done it to make herself look better, but she's not a writer and she's not a movie producer and she doesn't know what a good movie is. She has this idea where she gets more lines and gets to do more and all that. But because you want something from her, you want her love and her approval, you allow her. And so you take her script to the writers and you bring it in there and they say, oh, this isn't going to work. And you say, well, it's my movie, so you can either write it in or you're out. And so they write it in and it kind of ruins the movie. And what would have been a blockbuster Lord of the Rings movie turns into some cheesy sci-fi that doesn't go anywhere. So we have those situations happening to us all the time. And this is part of the challenge that we've chosen to have when we come here, is that we have to decide who's going to write the script of our story. Is it going to be us? Or are we going to let our past, using the same metaphor of an actor, one of the stupidest things that Hollywood does, and I know because I was there, is that once an actor gets a role and gets some notoriety in a movie role, that actor then faces being typecast as that forever. Even it just incredibly stupid things. Like if somebody's first big blockbuster is sci-fi, then from then on out, they are only thought of. The casting people are so stupid. I'm not kidding you. They got head. They got just plates in front of their head. They're just ridiculously stupid. They won't even consider an actor for, even if it's the exact same part. Let's say he plays military leader in a science fiction movie, right? Well, so even if he wants to play a military guy in a war movie, like they won't even consider him because it's not science fiction. He's a science fiction actor. They're that stupid. I forgot where I went off on my own issues there for a moment. But we do that. We limit ourselves based on the scripts that are written that we accept into our lives. And so what does this have to do with the magic of Wyrd? Wyrd is the pre-Roman, pre-Christian shamanic understanding of Europe, of the formation of everything, the universe, everything. And the law of Wyrd, Wyrd translates as that which has been woven. And there are 3 strands that create space-time. I want you to think about that for a moment. We create space-time. And those 3 strands are what we experience as the past, which was called origins, and what we perceive as the future is called debt. And in the center, which revolves, the past and the future revolve around this middle thread, is the ever-present now, the ever-unfolding now. Like we can talk about the past. 2 days ago, 5 days ago, we can pinpoint what we perceive to be something in the past. And we can try to perceive, like I'm going to be getting on a plane the 16th of June. I'll be arriving the 18th. So I lose a whole day. But I can pinpoint in the future when I think I'm getting on that plane. But the right now, try and pinpoint the right now. You can't. The moment that you pinpoint it, it becomes the past. There's never you can't, now is always now. The past and the future don't really exist. And so we weave together space-time, because it's not just time, it is actual matter. We weave matter. We weave together the universe based on the choices that we make in the here and now. I got a question from somebody about, well, what about future lives? Aren't future lives important? Why do we only talk about past lives? And it's because the future lives haven't been created yet. That if what you want is to create a future life, you do that now. This is when you create the future. Now. For those of you who want to escape the matrix, or those of you who want to no longer be incarnated, you want to escape and be free from incarnation, You're not in the now. If what you want is to have liberation from incarnation, that's done in this moment right now. And how you view space-time and how you view how you create space-time is going to determine what your future life will be. Because the future is debt. It's what you owe. And that means everything that you think and everything that you do creates a debt that has to be paid for and realized in the future. Does that make sense? So thinking about future lives, what you're going to create, what my future life will be, it doesn't serve you, because this is the only life that you have. And when you're in the future life, that future life will be the now as well. And if you want, if you want money and you have some money to spare and you invest it, you put it in a CD or something like that, the interest accrues. The investment of that money into the CD accrues interest, and then later on you can pay off that interest, or you can use that interest and spend it. The actions that you take right now are the savings. It's what you're investing in your future life. So there's nothing to be gained by thinking about future. There's just nothing to be gained from it. All you have is the right now. The way that you create the future is by focusing on what you want now. It was very sad. Last night there was a comment. Somebody said, "Should I just give up? Is it too late? Should I just give up?" And those kind of comments make me sad. They also frustrate and annoy me. But they make me sad because, giving up is an action. You think, "Oh, I'm going to stop doing things." If you give up, you're somehow stopping. Nope. Giving up is an action. And that, it's like if we're in this, if you want to look at time as a river, and we're paddling through the river to get to our destination, it's like we just stop paddling. Well, it's not going to stop the current from flowing. Giving up isn't somehow there's no pause button. You cannot pause this process of Wyrd. It's always moving. And it's always weaving. The question is whether or not you want to have some choice over what you weave. Now, most of the time, we don't. So as you know, the unconscious mind is doing all of the work for us. But what we don't realize is that we set the unconscious mind in motion. So in order to take control of the future, there are two things we got to do. The first one is we have to become conscious of what's in our unconscious mind. And the second thing we have to do is to invest in connecting to our highest soul vibration, which is our joy. We have to invest in actions that will do that. And that sometimes is a lot of work. It takes a lot of bravery to do that. So we have to invest in that action. But the problem is it's hard to know if we're investing in our highest awareness, if we're being controlled by past karma, which is in our unconscious. So it's like being in a river and there's a current in the river. And the current that's pushing you forward is the decisions that you've made in the past, the actions that you've made in the past. And what ends up happening is that we end up bouncing back off of those old decisions, because the truth is that before we make any decisions, we have to bounce off of an idea of who we are. And if you have a less than ideal story of who you are, that is going to be what you push off of. And so when we have situations like I appear to have, which is I have I'm going to be going, part of it is I'm going to be going to a brand new place. I know nobody there. I don't have any. I think there's a couple of people that that um, acquaintances that if they saw me, they might recognize me. But that's only because I was only there for 2 weeks. I don't have anybody there. I don't know anybody there. And they don't know me. And what that means is that I will not be influenced by any backstory of who they think I was or am. I get to start all over again. I get to create. So I could go there and create a completely new identity. I don't know if I go talking like this and tell everybody I was from London or something like that, yeah? Then they go, oh yeah, Mike, the guy from London. And they create a whole new idea of who I am, right? So I could give up my whole identity as being, Mike from California. And it's interesting. People who meet me now, I've got all gray hair and my beard here. You don't see the rest of my hair, and I'm bald. So people don't know what my hair color is. And when I tell people that my hair color used to be jet black, they're like, "What? Black hair?" I don't know if they think I have blonde hair or what they think my hair is, but they don't know. So to bring this back to you to make it practical, we have that option in every moment. Every single moment, we have the option to wipe the slate clean and start all over again, to create a new identity for who we are. But again, the problem is based on your past, the story that you've made up for your past, and the choices that you've made in your past about who you are and what you believe, those are stored in your unconscious. And if you're not aware of that, no matter what you say up here, I'm going to rewrite my story, you won't be able to. So that is, this is what, if you want to talk about what enlightenment is, I'm going to tell you what it is. Enlightenment is getting to the place where you let go of all ideas of who you think you are. And you take full conscious choice about the actions and the beliefs that you take. When you have 100% control over all of the choices that you have, over who you are and what you create, then you are fully enlightened. And to this date, I have not met anybody who was fully enlightened. I don't think that that person exists as long as they're in the flesh. I've said that before. I don't teach enlightenment. I teach the process of becoming enlightened. But I don't teach that there is ever a state where you reach a static state of enlightenment. Anybody who claims to be enlightened, a static state, they've reached ultimate enlightenment. Anybody who claims it is either lying to you, they're conning you, or they're deluded, and they're usually both. They're usually con men who are deluded, or con women in any case. So that's what I want to talk to you guys about. But I'll be happy to take any questions. If you have a question, if you're new to the channel, please write the word question and then have a question. Those of you, if you're new to the channel, if you're just dumping your opinion, I'm not going to read it. I prefer that you only interact with me with your questions. Otherwise, it takes up my time scrolling through trying to find people who have a question. Okay? So let's take a look here and see. Donna Marie has thrown down $3.33. Thank you. Thank you, Donna Marie. I appreciate that. So Daggerus, if you have a question, please let me know you've got a question. I can see here that you do, so let me answer it. You have any ideas why I started hearing voices after doing the celestial qigong for a month, then couldn't get rid of them? 1 year later, still hearing them, being haunted and hearing voices, weird things happening and such. Well, my suggestion for you would be to stop doing the celestial qigong right away. I've never said that before in my life, but what's happening is that you are, first off, let me ask you, are you grounding? Because in the celestial qigong, you must ground. You must put your hands over your navel and ground the energies. So if you're not grounding the energies, that could be the problem right there. But it may mean that you had some latent, schizophrenia that was waiting to unleash, because life force energy will do that. This is why people who smoke a lot of pot sometimes end up becoming schizophrenics. It's not good. But I don't know why that would be. The only other option would be that you have tapped into some latent ability, but the problem with it is that you can't get rid of them, which is not, beings on the other side, when they connect with you, they're not going to just chatter on and on. So what's happening is that something in your unconscious is reflecting back and forth. It's your own unconscious mind that's talking to you. So I would recommend stopping that, and I would recommend going to see a professional, because it doesn't sound healthy to me. Okay. The other thing is that you could be releasing some karmic samskaras in your aura, but there's something missing in it. Are you doing any kind of mind-altering chemicals? Are you drinking? Are you smoking pot? Are you taking any other kind of hallucinogens? Any other kind of power plants? Because if you are, stop doing that too. Anyway, I would stop doing all of that, and I would go get yourself checked out. You might have something going on upstairs. Might have go to a doctor and get a scan. Okay? There are such things as, mental illnesses and problems, and I think you ought to go check it out. Okay. Hi, Snow Buddy. Welcome to the channel. We're only interested in questions and answers, so please just limit it to that. If you do have a question, write the word question. I'll be happy to answer it. Donna Marie, B333 question. I must admit I moved forward and got scared shitless. Everything is coming to me even though I got scared. Is this totally normal? Yes. Donna Marie, have you not been listening to me? This is what I say. What I say is that, we all have unconscious blocks, and we all have to find our true soul purpose. Our destiny, as opposed to the destiny that is forced upon us by the choices we make, which take us away from ourselves. So, one way is if you could magically go and become conscious of all of your unconscious conflicts, which is what psychotherapy tries to do. And it does does some things okay, but for the most part, it really doesn't do a whole hell of a lot, because sometimes you become aware of what's going on in your unconscious and you have no ability to change it. So this is where ritual comes in. This is where mantra comes in, and this is where the action comes in, because ritual and mantra will be helpful to clear things up, but there's one key left, which is you have to take action. When you take action once you've determined what your soul desire is, go up here to neo.thunderwizard.com to know what I'm talking about. When you take action on what your soul desire is, then what ends up happening is you will become aware of what your unconscious blocks are. Most people don't know what their unconscious blocks are. They're just going through, and like I said earlier, the current that their ship is on is just pushing them towards wherever they're going, and it feels like they have no control. What was it that Jung said? I'm paraphrasing, but he said something to the equivalent of, you must become conscious of what is unconscious, otherwise it will happen to you and you will think it is fate. And what he's saying there is, it's not fate, it's you. You are doing it, and your unconscious drives and beliefs and issues are uh, the the current in the stream that's pushing you forward. So what you've done, based on what you've said, what it sounds like you've done is that you have taken actions toward your soul desire, and now what's happening is those unconscious blocks are coming up in front of you to try and stop you. And so this will happen in a lot of ways. Fear is one of the most prevalent ones. You become afraid. You have anxiety. For the first time in my life that I can remember, I've actually had non-specific anxiety off and on for the past, couple of weeks. It's because I'm a month away of walking away from my entire life. It's really, you think about it, it's not that big of a deal. All I have to do is get on a plane and come back. So it's not like I can't come back, but symbolically it's a big deal for me. So it feels like a huge shift, and for the first time in my life, I've been, why am I so scared and anxious? I don't know, because normally I'm very clear on what I'm feeling and why I'm feeling it most of the time. So you took some actions, you followed my advice, which was you figured out what your soul desire was. You took some brave actions towards it. And now your unconscious issues, which you weren't aware of, are making themselves clear to you, and you're afraid. And the great thing to know is that that means that you have accomplished the main thing, which is you're now becoming conscious of all your unconscious issues. So stick with it and start asking yourself, what is it that you're afraid of? And you will probably find out that what's going on is that you are probably trying to meet what you thought was your parents' expectations for you, because everything comes down to us wanting to get love and approval from something or somebody. And now you're aware of that. And when you keep going after what you want, you're going to keep breaking the rules of what you thought you were supposed to do or what you were programmed to be. And that's frightening. It's frightening because in our unconscious mind, it feels like we're killing God. That's why people start feeling like they're being bad or sinful. They think they're killing God. They're killing their parents. This is all happening on an unconscious level, and it's not rational. So good. The fear means you're going in the right direction. Keep going. Like you said, you have everything now, and everything is coming to you. Yes, so to answer your question, it's totally normal. That's what I mean, think back on all of the stuff I've said. I've been telling you that's what will happen. If you go after your soul desire, the first thing that will happen is you will bump into all of your karmic issues. Right? Okay. So, Spy Bodist, hi, welcome to the channel. Please only write questions. I know that you have very powerful opinions, but this is the Thunder Wizard show. I'm really only interested in my opinion here. If you have a question, though, I'll be happy to answer it if I can. All right, there you go. So you corrected yourself. There you go. All right. All right, but then you go on after you correct yourself. Oh, sorry, you only want questions. Then you go on and write another paragraph, which isn't a question. So please write the word question and just put it in, a succinct but good sentence. You ask, how do we extract the wishy-washy people from our lives? So Spy Bodist, I don't know what that means. I don't know who the wishy-washy people are. To me, without knowing you, it sounds like they're not doing what you want. And that's none of your business. So if people aren't doing what you want, then you got to accept them for who they are and stop worrying about them. Again, I'm only going off of what I feel in that question, and it sounds like that's what it is. So without more information, that's the best I can do. Donna Marie, B333 question. I already purchased the rune certification months ago and it was overwhelming. Finally coming to a place of calm and completion. Do you recommend getting the Vedic astrology course too? Of course I do. That's why I put them out there. Now, I don't know, if that's something you want to do. The real question is, do you want to study Vedic astrology? If so, then get it. It comes down to what you want. Remember, this is all about what you want. And one of our greatest struggles is to really pinpoint what it is we want as opposed to what we think we want. That's one of the hardest things to figure out. So you ask yourself, if you want to study astrology, I mean, you don't have to take my course. But yeah, I would recommend that. Since you're asking the question, I will let people know. For the month of May only, there's a two for one special. You can go to 241.thunderwizard.com. The number's 241.thunderwizard.com. And for the price of one certification and training, you can get two. You can get the astrology certification course and training, and you can get the rune certification course. And if you go to astrology.thunderwizard.com, you will see that there's not just me on that page, there's a bunch of other astrologers. And these are people who took my course, and they have passed. And so when somebody goes to get an astrological reading, they can choose from anybody. Now, they're independent astrologers. They don't work for me. Because they've passed my certification, I put them on my site, and they can charge whatever the hell they want. The only thing that I ask them to do is when they get a reading, they give me a $25 donation just to pay for, having their stuff on my site. But even then, I can't control that, and so they could steal from me, and I'd never know. Of course, they'd have that karma on them. Since you asked about that. Hopefully the internet will not fart out on me. It's been giving me a hard time, and I see it's kind of stopping here. Anyway. Daggerus, question. A psychiatrist, okay, so don't tell me, you don't know. This isn't a question. You're following your question with a statement. A psychiatrist would just label me and hand me a pill telling me I'm stuck with hearing and feeling it, no hope to remove it besides pills, just stoning it down. So, Daggerus, how do you know that? Because if I had known that and based on this, it makes me wonder, have you heard voices in the past? Have you had other kind of psychological issues in the past? Because if I had known that, I would have said, don't mess around with energy work. So you don't know. Okay, you don't know. Now, some psychiatrists might do that, but you take control and you go and find one that'll help you. But it's hard for, it's frustrating for me. It frustrates me when people, look, there are professionals out there for a reason. Listen, I've been to professionals. I've never heard voices or anything, but I've been to psychologists and I've been to teachers and other people like that. So I don't have any other options for you. You're hearing voices and you can't stop them. That is not a good thing. I don't know how to fix that because that's not something I've ever dealt with. There might be things to do, but the one thing, again, I'm asking you, are you grounding? Because if you're not grounding, that could be the problem, could be part of the problem. But still, I wouldn't want to be walking around with voices that I couldn't stop. That's not a minor fucking issue, man. So go find an expert who can help you with that. You don't want to go to a psychiatrist, go see a traditional Chinese medicine person. Somebody who practices TCM. Maybe they have something that they can help you with. But it means that there's something out of balance on a psychological level. Something is out of balance there. It's probably not going to go away. Probably going to need to deal with it. Joe Connolly question. I have trouble connecting with the gods. How do you know that? That's just a feeling. That's a judgment. You don't know that you have trouble connecting with them. If I ask them, they might say that they have no problem connecting with you. So you're a little full of yourself right there. You don't make that. You can tell me that I have trouble feeling connected to the gods. That's different. But the actual connection itself, That may be going on just fine. And now he's going to tell me why. First he asked me, and then he's going to tell me why it is. I think it's because I don't understand what they are. So what are you asking me? What are the gods? So Joe Connolly, haven't we had this discussion multiple times? Am I wrong? Every time you come on here, you ask me the same question. What did I say to you last time? Stop thinking. Stop making a decision about what it's going to be or feel like to connect to the gods. Stop trying to figure it out. I don't know what is it that you want? Do you think that if you connect to the gods, you will have a feeling? Do you think that if you connect to the gods, that you will feel better? Or what is the feeling that you're trying to solve? That is what you need to tell me. First, don't tell me, question, here's what I think is going on in this and this and this. If you have a question, ask me a question. That's not a question. I'm not sure that I agree with you that you have trouble connecting to the gods. What I think is going on is that you're uncomfortable. You feel incomplete or inadequate or scared or anxious or something, and you want something to make yourself feel better, and you've come up with the idea that you need to connect with the gods, and if you connect with the gods, then it'll all be okay. And you're not feeling that, so you must not be connecting. And here, you say, I don't understand them. Who said you had to understand them? I don't believe in them because I don't understand them. So, do you believe in them or not? If you don't believe in them, why are you here? I mean, I don't care if you believe in the gods or not. This isn't church. I don't want to convert you. I don't care if you're an agnostic or an atheist or whatever it is. Why, if you don't believe in them, why do you need to follow them? I don't understand. You are in conflict with yourself. Be comfortable with you, whatever the hell that is. Okay? Joe Connolly, question. How can I find my soul desire? All right, so that is actually a good question. Forgive me while I take off my sweatshirt here. It's almost June in Southern California, and it's still wintertime out there. Just nuts. All right, so how to find your soul desire. Again, you go up here, neo.thunderwizard.com. neo.thunderwizard.com. If you want to know what you're going to get, how to get the most out of your life, not just your life, but how to get the most out of what I teach. There are 4 things here. Now, listen. Look, people, coming onto YouTube and watching me talk for 3 hours, I'm happy that you do it. But if that's all you're doing, you're getting about 2% of what I teach. So if you really want to get the benefits of what I teach, if you look at me and you see that I have something that you want, then if you want what I have, you got to do what I do. neo.thunderwizard.com. There are 4 tools that you need. The first one is you have to know what your soul desire is. In order to know what your soul desire is, there's a process to figure that out. I take you through that step by step. Second thing is you have to have life force energy. And that is celestial qigong. That didn't work out for the individual that we're talking to. So, and again, there's some information that's missing. There's some information that's missing. If I had all the information, I would be able to better help you. But you need celestial qigong in order to have power to get to your destination. Third thing that you need is you need to know the 5 rules to master the matrix. So the matrix is this web of life force energy, this Wyrd that we're talking about, this woven matter that has created space-time, which it itself is a conscious entity, but it responds to you, and it responds to you in a way that you experience as either being supportive or being hindrance. You experience it as being rewarded or being punished. And that is simply, you have to know how to direct it. If you act continuously in a certain way, the universe will keep responding with negative reinforcement, which you will experience as feeling alone, feeling unloved, feeling persecuted, all those kinds of things. If you learn how to take other actions, then the universe will reward you, will give you money, will open opportunities, will bring things to you, bring you health and happiness. And it has nothing to do with how you feel. So let's get rid of that, um, that law of attraction nonsense where if you just think happy thoughts, happy things will happen. This takes away that. It doesn't matter if you're feeling happy or sad. If you do these things, the universe will respond. And then the fourth thing is what we're doing now, which is on the thunderwizard.com channel, um, the Manifestation Mastery course. And then as time goes on and my internet gets better, we'll have more live Q&As there where we'll go very deep. And then we have to do that. We can't do this alone. I got frustrated at somebody earlier because they're going to make all the decisions for themselves. They're going to diagnose themselves. And that frustrates the hell out of me because, a brain surgeon cannot do brain surgery on themselves. Even if they're a master brain surgeon, they can't do brain surgery. Some other brain surgeon has to come and do it for them. We need a community. You do need teachers and you do need people. And that's what the fourth one is. So you're asking me, if you're coming onto my channel and you're asking me, how do I find out my soul desire? It tells me you haven't done those things. And I have no sympathy for people who don't invest in themselves. You've paid money to have a cell phone, a car, wherever you went out to dinner, cable television, whatever else, apps on your phone, whatever drinks you had the other night, the internet. You've paid money for all kinds of things. Why aren't you willing to invest in your spiritual advancement, your happiness? So go to neo.thunderwizard.com. I could spend the whole time talking about soul desire, but that's not what we're going to do today. Joe Connolly question, can you offer advice for healing emotional trauma? Yeah, but it's so general. What do you mean? What is the emotional trauma? The only way I'm going to know that is if I talk to you. And I'm going to ask you a lot of questions. Well, there's one pill. Take a pill. I mean, come on, you guys, think this through. What do you mean emotional trauma? What kind of emotional trauma? What happened to you? Of course, I'm going to have a lot of advice, but I can't do that unless you talk to me. So if you want to get a session with me, you can. And I might be able to come up, maybe. It's going to take a while. I'm going to have to talk to you for a while and find out what the hell's going on with you. Donna Marie, if not that, get a therapist. Again, go get some help. People talk about emotional trauma like they talk about physical trauma. Like, what should you do if you bruise your elbow? Well, that's just like a thing that happened to you, and you put this compress on and it'll get better. Emotional trauma is not a thing that just happened to you, that you put this, you take this pill, you say this prayer, you do this sound, and it will go away. It's part of you. So the main thing is you have to face the emotional trauma. And you probably will need some help to do that. You're probably going to need a counselor. Think about it. Think about it. You're asking me, how do you heal emotional trauma? Find somebody who's an expert in healing that. This is one of the things that I do when I work with my students, is I help them work through their trauma. But it doesn't happen overnight. Again, take some responsibility for your own health. You would do it if you wanted to become Mr. Olympia. You would say, how can I get big muscles? Are you expecting the person to say, oh, well, just go to the gym once and do this one exercise and then you'll have big muscles? No, they're going to tell you, here's a training regime and you got to do it every day, X amount of hours a day, 5 days a week for the next 3 years, and then you got to change up and do this. What makes you think that emotional trauma is going to be any different than that? Come on, seriously. I get frustrated because it's such a, I'm not trying to beat you up, but, it's such a childish, narcissistic, egotistical way of looking at things. I don't want to do any work. I don't want to talk to anybody. I don't want anybody to see what's going on, and I don't want to put a lot of time in it. How do I heal it? With time and effort and bravery and help. Donna Marie, okay, that's not a question. Rint Raz Roar. Question: what would you suggest to a phlegmatic person for strengthening of the fiery element? So again, so much in that question. I have no idea. First off, I'm not an Ayurvedic, or am I a traditional Chinese medicine doctor, so I couldn't tell you about that. But it makes me want to ask all kinds of other things. What is it? What kind of diet do you have? Do you party? Do you smoke? All that other stuff. But unfortunately, I can't answer that question because that's not my area of expertise. I'm not going to make any suggestions about something I don't know anything about. All right. Donna Marie B333. Is that a question? No, that is not a question. All right, so that's it for the moment. What I'll do is I'll take a short break here. We did talk a little bit about celestial qigong, so let's look at that again, and then I'll come back and maybe I'll have something to say, and maybe there'll be some more questions. We'll see. Bear in mind, whenever you guys stop asking questions, I'm going to try and sell you stuff. So if you don't want to hear me sell you stuff, ask me questions. Hi, I'm Michael Denny of SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Negung Part 1. Celestial Negung means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Negung. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang Qing arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang Qing tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within, those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang Qing tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid, energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today. All right, we're back. See if there are any questions. Nope, no questions. All right, so I'll talk for a little bit while longer, and we'll see what happens after that. So I want to get back to this concept of your destiny is the result of the backstory that you keep pushing off of. Does that make sense? I'm trying to put a picture in your mind of how it works. Like when you're swimming and you go and you're swimming in the pool and you turn over and you push off the side of the pool to get you down further down the pool. That's what I mean. Every time that we make a decision, every time now, was it Joe Connolly? Joe Connolly said something. I don't know what he said. Let me see. Here's what the session was. You've convinced me it's not good for me. I don't know what they're talking about. Is this the same person that was having voices? Somebody was hearing voices. No, that was Daggerus. Okay, so I don't know what Joe Connolly's talking about, but I've convinced them that something is not good for them. I don't know what they mean by that. Good luck to you. I'll try something else. I don't know what that means. That sounds like something somebody would say when they're leaving. Okay, yours thing, I'm not going to do your thing and I'm leaving now. So he's pushing off, or she's pushing off on the idea that whatever it is that we're talking about, worshiping the gods or something, is not good for her. So she's going to push off down into another direction. And we do that all the time with everything. Whether it's we push off towards what makes us happy, or we push off towards what might not be helpful for us. Was it yesterday? Somebody said, is it too late? Should I just give up? They were pushing off of their failure. Because of course, when I hear that, it's like it's never too late. Why would anybody come to that conclusion? Now, this is me. I'm a fighter. I've always been a fighter. I fight against everything. The thought of giving up I would rather die than give up. I would rather die. In fact, I just refuse. I refuse to give up. It's just a question of where I put my energies. Maybe that's not the place to keep pounding my head against the wall, but I'm going to go in some direction. That's me. So I project that onto others, and that's what I want for them to do too. But know that every time you make a decision, you're pushing off of something in your unconscious. Now let's see if I can use this understanding. So I've shared about my brother. I don't know where he is these days. I hope he's doing well. I think he's probably alive. I know he got his hands on some money and he's probably living in a hotel somewhere. I don't know where he is, to be honest with you. But I hope he's able to push off and get his life together. But he and I both grew up in the same house. Grew up in the same parents. We grew up in a very well-to-do neighborhood. So it wasn't like we grew up on the streets and we were poor and there just wasn't any opportunities. My mom ended up losing all of the money. So, don't look at me now. I don't have any of that. None of that money's left. But what I remember, what I know from him, and it took me a long time to piece this together, but my older brother was very abusive to me. And he used to just, emotionally and verbally and sometimes physically just, beat the crap out of me. And it was very hard living with him. And he decided somewhere that I was the cause of all of his troubles. The last time that I saw him, he had threatened to shoot me because of blah, blah, blah. Whatever it was that I did made it impossible for him to have his life. And I remember I was so hurt by that because my whole life, by then I was, in my 40s by then. And I remember, I was actually, those of you who don't think that there's professionals out there, I was with a psychologist and I was trying to figure out what the hell did I do to make my brother hate me so much? What did I do? I was his little brother. I was 5 years younger than him. What did I do? And I came to the realization, I started asking myself, I started saying, he's acting like a 4-year-old. He treats me like he's a 4-year-old, and he reminds me of a toddler, the way he treats me. And I thought, what happened to him when he was 4 years old? Oh yeah, I was born. And then it all dawned on me. He was the baby. It was my sister and then him. He was the baby. And then I was born, and all of a sudden, at 4.5 years of age, or almost 5 years of age, this little baby comes in, me, and takes all of the attention away from him. He never got over that. He never got past that. And to this day, if you talk to him, even though there's sometimes I haven't seen him for decades at a time, if you talk to him, he will tell you how I single-handedly screwed up his life. He even blamed me for his illness. He has this stress-related illness where I won't get into it, but it's a stress-related illness. The doctors confirmed to him it's stress-related, and they said, "What's causing you stress?" And he said, "Me, I did it. Something I did to him, one day, 20 years ago, is still killing him." So he's pushed off on that. And for his whole life, this is a guy who could have been and done anything he wanted. He could have gone to the best schools in the world. He could have decided to do anything he wanted to do. And he ended up being sick and homeless. Now, whatever other things he's pushing off of, I don't know. But I know that the way he treats with me is I'm the one that did it to him. Because if I go back to his childhood, he was a toddler. He was 4.5, almost 5 years of age. And in his mind, he lost his mother and his father. He lost the love of his parents. And he never got it back. And it was so traumatic for him not to have mom and dad's love. By the way, he never left home. He lived with my mom up until, she got too sick to take care of him, and then he was on the street. He never left my mom. He went off to the army, and he went through basic training and got sent home early, and that was it. He never left. So that's an extreme example of somebody pushing off of an idea of, whatever it is that his idea was. He needed to be loved. He wasn't good. He wasn't worthy to be on his own. And my parents did a number on all of us, the three of us. So, it's not like that's the only thing. I mean, they did a real number on us. But do you look at the difference between me and him, is that obviously I made some different choices. I pushed off on some different ideas about myself, pushed off against some different ideas about the universe. And so if you're trapped in a life and you don't know, why is life so hard for me? Why is life so difficult for me? Why this, why that? It's because there's some idea in the back of your head you keep pushing off of. The belief that you're not good enough, and you don't know that you're thinking that. The belief that you don't deserve money, the belief that the world is an unfair place. The belief that the archons are out to get you, the elites are out to destroy your life. It may be true. There may be archons, there may be elites, there may be all those things, but the assumption that they are more powerful than you keep pushing off on that. That's what you're going to get. So if you're able to do what I was talking about earlier today, which I have an opportunity to do, I can't guarantee how, I'm really thinking about it. I'm really thinking about the limitations of who I think I am, because I have an opportunity to completely start all over again. Write a brand new script for myself, create a whole new identity, because I'm going to a foreign country where nobody knows me. They don't know my history. They don't know anything about me. And they are going to make a judgment of who I am based on the story that I bring with me and the actions that I take based on that story. And so I'm really thinking about what, if I could rewrite the inner script of myself, what would I do? And what can I do? What are the limitations of that? But it's true for all of us. In every nanosecond, we have the opportunity to change the way we believe and the way that we act. The hard part is that if you have been making the same decisions and actions for years and years and years and years, you've backed up this huge story that has power. It's like the current in the stream. So if you keep saying to yourself that the universe is an unfair place, you don't deserve to have money, women will never love you, you're this, you're that, and you keep saying that to yourself over and over again. By the way, every time that you talk Every time you talk negatively about how the universe is out to get you and whatever, that's why I go up against victim mentality. Because every time that you invest in a victim mentality, the archons take your life away, they force you to reincarnate, the aliens are out to get you, the government wants to kill you, the government wants to take your freedom away, women, only want you for your sperm, whatever it is the story. Every time that you repeat that, you make that backstory bigger, which means that the current that your boat is on becomes faster, and it becomes that much harder to change the flow of the current that your boat is on. But you can't do anything about what you've already done. What you can do is you can change course. And this is why, if you watch, like if you go onto my channel and you watch the free shaman certification, the first thing I teach you is that you have to get rid of all victim-based beliefs. And you have to trust that the universe wants your ultimate happiness, and that the universe is poised and ready to do everything to empower you and to help you. This is why, if you know what your soul desire is, the universe will start giving you everything that you want. And like Donna Marie said, it might scare the shit out of you because you never had that before. You never had the universe. It's really scary. You'll find out that it's a lot easier to be a failure than it is to be a success. We're not afraid of failure. We're afraid of success. Prove me wrong. Go out and follow my directions to the letter and get success, and tell me if you don't feel at some point just absolutely frightened, because you die. What happens is you die to that failure of who you are, who you were, the backstory. You start to die to that, and that's scary. All right. Daggerous question. What is a great way to approach the part of ourselves we run from, repress, ignore, avoid? How do we become the opposite aspect of self in the parts we hate internally and act opposite in it? Well, you've already answered the question. So I shared you the story about my brother. My brother's the most miserable person I've ever known. Again, I haven't seen him in years. Maybe he's happy. I hope he is. Maybe he's happy and successful and he's changed his life. I don't know. Last time I saw him, he was the most miserable person I'd ever seen. And so because he and I grew up in the same house, I know how he thinks, because I think the same way. And I know how he's been programmed, because I was programmed the same way. And so whenever I'm trapped in the part of myself that I hate, as you say, the part that you run from, the self-destructive part of yourself, basically whenever you're depressed and thinking miserably and life is no good, whenever I'm in that spot, or whenever I'm afraid, basically, I ask myself, what would my brother do? And because I know him so well, and because he and I share the same programming, I can hear his voice in my head, and he'll tell me exactly what to do and what the thing and why this and blah. And I listen to everything he says, and then I do the exact opposite. And it's scary as hell. I know exactly why he doesn't do all kinds of things, because I feel the same feelings he does. So Daggerous, the thing is, you've got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And there's a thing in 12-step programs called taking contrary action, which is how, this is how alcoholics and drug addicts, don't keep going back to alcohol and drugs, even though they have a physical addiction, a craving that they can't mentally, consciously, get out of their head. They start doing things completely opposite. This is also something that Carlos Castaneda teaches in his books. And he teaches the same thing, doing the exact opposite. And and he has a great way of explaining it. It's total nonsense, but if you apply it, it works. But he talks about this thing called the assemblage point. And the idea is that your reality is a result of your perception based on where your assemblage point is in your, basically on your spinal column. And if your assemblage point moves, then you'll be in a different reality. And so in his book, sorcerers do all kinds of things to be able to learn how to change where their assemblage point is. And one of them is to do things that are completely contrary, things that they're deathly afraid of. Something as simple as, if you're afraid to ask women out, then for a whole week, what you do is you go to bars and you start asking women out on dates. That's just one thing. Whatever it is, that's the exact opposite of what you are. You do the opposite. There's another phrase called act as if. So if you are somebody who is insecure and you're, unsuccessful, you ask yourself, okay, what would a secure, successful person say and do? And then you start acting as if. And then you have to get rid of your ego, which says, oh, I'm lying, I'm not being authentic. Right. You're trying to shift your assemblage point. Because if you can shift your assemblage point, then your reality will shift as well. And you will shift who you are. He also talks about, changing, shape shifting, completely changing looks. Like one day coming in and looking like a short, fat old man, and then coming in the next day and being 6 foot tall and young and lean and muscular. And he says, if you change the assemblage point, you can shape shift your body. Now, whether or not that's true, I don't know, but the concept is absolutely correct. If you take contrary action and do things you normally would never do, no matter how frightening, in fact, the more frightening it is, the better. When you do things that are completely out of character for you, then what ends up happening is that backstory that you push off of starts to fall apart, and you can create a new one. And when you get in the habit of pushing off of being successful, being happy, being healthy, every time you make a decision, you say, what would a successful, happy, healthy person do right now? And you take that action, you start to believe, you start to actually become that healthy, happy person. And then that becomes your backstory from which you keep pushing off of. So those are some things you can do. But Daggeris, I don't know you. What I can tell you is that it's very unlikely you'll be able to do it by yourself. So if you don't have a community of people to work with, if you haven't gone up here to these links and done the things that I put out there, I guess you did the Celestial Qigong, right? Was that you? Yeah, so you did the Celestial Qigong, but you're probably going to need to do some other stuff. And you may want to start working with somebody. You can work with me, and I can help you. But if you don't want to work with me, you should work with somebody. Get a group of people that you can work with, because you're not going to be able to fix yourself. That I can guarantee you. You're going to need to do it in a community. You're going to have to make yourself available to others and stop being afraid of what people think of you. Okay? All right. Amy Luann, question. Do your apprentices go into depth about the Aruda the same as you do? Well, they're different. I don't, they're going to go into the Aruda the way they are. They've been taught by me. So I don't know what you're asking. They're going to, they're going to, some of them are, they're all different. And some of them are smarter than I am. And so, they will get you to your Aruda. Listen, you can figure out your Aruda as well. If somebody can just tell you, if what house your Aruda is in, what planet is there, what sign it's in, what the aspects are, you can go and figure that out on your own. You can do research on that. I've been doing this whole series of, right now we're on the third house. So I'm doing different planets in the third house. If you know that yours is, Mercury in Virgo in the third house, then you can study Mercury and Virgo in the third house. You can study all that and you can figure that out on your own. If they don't do it deep enough for you, you can figure it out. But you're going to have somebody, tell you what it is. So I recommend, every single one of those people have been certified by me. So they have at least proved to me that they know how to do it. Okay? All right. Donna Marie, question. What is the outlet where I can just talk with you about what I'm experiencing? What do you mean? That's called having a session with me. So if you want a one-off session, you can go to career.thunderwizard.com. If you want to be an apprentice, I don't know if there's any apprentices, but apprentices work with me at least once a month or more than that. So that's how you would talk with me. You know, somebody came on and I thought wanted to be an apprentice. They signed up to be an apprentice, and then I found out later that he was just testing it out, and he was gonna do it one time, and then maybe he was gonna quit and maybe come back if it was the right thing for him. And I said, "That's not cool, man. You can't do that." You know, because other people spend a lot more money just to have one session with me, and you figured out a way to get it for cheap, and then tell me you're not even sure if you want to be my apprentice or not. So apprenticeship is different than just having a session with me. Apprenticeship means that you're investing in a long-term relationship with me, and you're investing in your own knowledge and the journey that we take together while you become empowered. That's what apprenticeship is, in case you didn't know. And for that, you can go to thunderwizard.com and learn about the two different ways of apprenticeship with me, or the two general ways. All right. Trevor something. Question: is it wrong to rewrite your story in order to carry on? I mean, have you been listening? I've been the whole time I've been talking about rewriting your story. So obviously, I don't think it's wrong to rewrite your story. I'm saying you should rewrite your story. You know, when a writer, you know, one of the problems I have as a writer is that I can't, you know, finish a book and get it out. Well, I shouldn't say that. There have been times when I've had difficulty. See, I'm rewriting my story. There have been times when I've had difficulty finishing a book and sending it off, and some of them I end up, you know, making editorial mistakes, and it's too late. It's already published. But yeah, one of the things is you constantly go over the book and you re-edit it. You trying to make it right. When you're writing a script for a movie, when you're writing a short story or a novel, you want to rewrite it and get it down so it's, you know, so you're no different. You are a story. So of course you should rewrite your story. Now it doesn't mean you should go into denial, but definitely rewrite who you are. You should be doing that all the time. I heard something that our body, all of the cells in our body change after 7 years. 7 years later, none of the cells in your body are the same. I mean, I don't know if that's entirely true, but you know, it's a nice little metaphor there. All right, so what is that? AID question. Is Vedic astrology more valid than Western? In my opinion, it is. What is the difference? Astrology.thunderwizard.com. The difference is astrology, as we know it, came from Bactria over 2,000 years ago. I think. It was around 2,000 years ago. In Bactria, there was a city-state of a people and a culture that no longer exists because they were taken over by the Muslims. And so they no longer exist anymore. But their culture and their religion was that they were astronomers. And they worshipped the planets and the stars. And they created the 12 signs and the 12 houses and all the things that we know of in astrology. Wise men from India and wise men from Greece both went there to study their astrology, and they took back their understanding back to their respective homelands. So this is why you have the same signs and the same houses in Vedic and Western. You hear about these two zodiacs, the tropical zodiac and the sidereal. Now, I am not an expert in Western astrology. I just know that for me, it doesn't work very well. I know some Western astrologers who are very accurate and are really helpful. So part of the answer to your question is it depends on the astrologer, because you can have a crappy Vedic astrologer and a brilliant Western astrologer. But here's what I've learned. I used to think that the sidereal zodiac versus the tropical zodiac, Western is the tropical zodiac and the sidereal is the Vedic. Vedic is sidereal, Western is tropical. I used to think they were both valid zodiacs, which is they're basically how you view the sky and all that. And what I found out is that when the Greeks brought back their understanding of the zodiac, for whatever reason, they didn't take into account the wobbling of the earth, which goes through this period of 25,000 years. It wobbles around and does all this thing. And so, if you had a picture of a globe here and there was a circle around it, you'd have one circle going around the center and you'd have one going in an elliptical way from the bottom. And the earth is sort of shifted like this. And so you're making a calculation straight out this way, which is what tropical zodiac is, and it's inaccurate. If you're taking the calculations based on this angle, then that is an accurate angle. And then that will compensate for the wobbling of the earth and all the other stuff. And so when I hear people say, well, it's like different tastes. Some people like chocolate, some people like vanilla. The fact of the matter is that the Western tropical zodiac calculations are off, and they're continuing to go off every moment. I believe that the tropical zodiac goes off, it's incorrect. It goes off by 1 degree every 72 years. So 2,000 years later, the tropical zodiac calculations are off by 24 degrees. So that's why in Vedic astrology, your planets can be in different houses and in different signs and all of that. So just from that alone, and this is my latest understanding, and maybe it'll change, but it's not just, oh, this is nice, that's nice. I like vanilla, you like chocolate. No, I mean, there are calculations. And the calculations have to be right. Otherwise, you're looking at things wrong. And Western astrology is off by 24 degrees. It's just, more and more people. There's a few famous Vedic astrologers who were Western astrologers, and they finally gave up the tropical zodiac because they could no longer, they could see the difference. Vedic astrology, you make a calculation and you make a prediction, it's right on the money. Western astrology, they found it's just not accurate. I heard one guy say that what he does is he takes the mean, the difference between the Vedic calculation and the Western, and the things in that where they come together, that's what he uses. But all that really means is that he's taken something that is so general that it fits both of them. This is sort of like, it's just a sacred cow we're not willing to let go of. Western astrology is off by 24 degrees. That's how I understand it these days. Hermes Hohenheim. Question. After practicing Qigong, I get insanely hungry. Is this normal? I don't know if it's normal. It just means that, what's happening is that your body is wanting nutrients. Now, I don't know how your body works. What I have learned, and it took me 50 years to figure this out, when I'm hungry, I need protein. I spent years, I would have bananas by the side of my bed. I'd have Cliff Bars by the side of my bed because I would wake up to the sound of my stomach grumbling. It didn't matter how much I ate. I would wake up to the sound of my stomach grumbling. And I thought if I had some starches or something, it never worked. Until I got back into lifting weights again and I started eating more protein, and then I would have a big protein shake before I went to bed, and I'd sleep all night. Or I'd eat a big, chicken sandwich before going to bed. That's my body. My body wants to be muscular. So no matter what, it's constantly wanting me to eat protein all the time. So if you're practicing Qigong and you get hungry, it means that there's some nutrient in your body that your body needs in order to respond to the extra energy. It also means that your organs are waking up. So your body is wanting to now take in some nutrients that, maybe the body the organs weren't functioning at 100%, and now they are. So you need to kind of practice and find out what that is. Is it fruit? Is it protein? Is it, what is it that your body is craving? You might want to go to a traditional Chinese medicine doctor. Go get some acupuncture and have them, they'll stick their hands on your pulse and they'll tell you what you're missing in your diet. That's my suggestion to you. Daggers, question. Acting the opposite is the scariest thing we can do. Yes, indeed. How can we best face that? Fear is an impressive thing, but is it controllable? Daggerus and everybody else, the shorter your questions, the better. The longer that you ask a question, I know that you're stuck in your head. But you raise a couple of good points there. One is, how can you face your fear? Well, what you're asking me is, you're wanting me to tell you how to lessen your fear, and I can't tell you how to do that. It's just a feeling. I know that's easy for me to say. It sounds easy. It's actually not. I know it sounds easy for me to say that it's just a feeling and just don't listen to it. But that's, this is the biggest mistake people make when it comes to manifestation. When I tell people, listen, if you want something, go get it. For instance, if you want to move into a new house, you've seen the house that you want to live in, and you know that's where you belong. But you can't afford it. And in your head, you say, well, I should be practical, and when I can afford it, then I'll do it. I hear this all the time. People want to take my courses, they want to take my certification course, and they say, I just don't have the money. What I need to do is get the money. And if I have the money, then I'll do it. And that never works. It never works for me. The way that the universe works for me is that when I expand beyond my limitation, the universe responds. This is the difference between the law of attraction and what I teach. The law of attraction says sit on your ass and think about having all the money, and then the money will come, and then you can go rent the house. The check came in the mail, and I magically have the money. And that happens. I'm not saying it doesn't happen, but for the most part, it doesn't. It doesn't for me. What happens for me is I see something that I want. I go, well, I can't afford that right now, but I want that, and I deserve it, and my body's telling me I belong in that house, so I'm going to go sign the lease. So I go over there and I apply. If I get turned down, that's my answer. It's not the right place for me. But more times than I can think of both places I've lived in now, this house here and the apartment before it. I couldn't afford it, but I wanted to live there. It was my soul desire. I wanted more than anything to be there and to have what that offers. And I signed, I applied, and then I got accepted, which scared the crap out of me. And then they wanted me to move in, and I had to move in. In fact, one time I had to scramble to go to the bank to get some money rearranged so that I had money for the deposit. I was so surprised. I walked in there. I didn't even fill it out. I was just following my soul desire. I saw that this place had opened up. It was right where I wanted to live. It overlooked my surf spot. It was perfect, and it was a fantasy. And I walked in and I said, yeah, how much and when and all that. And I bullshitted the guy. He said, how much do you make? And I lied to him. And I told him some half-truths about how much money I made and what I did for a living. And he said, oh, great. When can you move in? And I'm like, what? And he says, I want you to move in right away. Let's go back to my place and we'll fill out the lease. And I'm like, oh my God. And then I'm like, okay. And then he says, okay, so give me the deposit. And I'm like, well, you want that right now? He says, yeah, I want the deposit right now. I had to hang on. Let me go to the bank. And I had to go to the bank and throw some money around. And then I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? Everything changed. Then my business changed. I got more clients. Same thing happened when I moved here. So fear means nothing. It's just a feeling. It just means you're going up against your limitation and you're pushing beyond your limitation. It's frightening. So I'm not going to be able to take the fear away from you. But you're going to have to trust the universe. If you trust the universe, you will take the action. This is why my ancestors said, those who die in battle go to Valhalla. It doesn't say those who have no fear. It doesn't say those who work through their issues and then go to battle. It says those who die in battle go to Valhalla. The battle that you die to is when your fear tells you you can't do something and you go and do it no matter how afraid you are. You died in that battle. And then you go to Valhalla. You get the money, you get the whatever. But you also have to be willing to die for what you want. Not just dying for a principle and dying for world peace or dying for equal rights. Those are valuable things to die for. But you also have to be willing to die for what you want. I'll give you another example. When I was 49 years old and I was divorced, my ex-wife now, kicked me out. I had nothing. I had no money, no job, nothing. Everything was invested in that house. That was my business. Everything was there. When she kicked me out, I had nothing. And I was racked with physical pain. Doctors were telling me I would never surf again. I would never lift weights again. I would never hike again. My left knee was swollen up like a balloon. I had neck pain, back pain, sciatica. I had joint pain. I couldn't even lift. This coffee cup would have been so painful I would have dropped it. And all I knew is that I wanted to surf again. With no money, no career to speak of. I was making $500 a month from book sales. And, racked with physical pain. I made my way down, and once again, I signed a lease for a cabin in the local mountains here. And I lived in the local mountains, and I drove an hour to the beach, and I showed up out of shape, not having surfed for 10 years, put on a wetsuit, and I grabbed a surfboard, and the waves were huge, and the water was freezing, and I was totally out of shape. And I said, you know what? I might drown today, but I'm going to die doing what I want to do. And you know what happened? Once I got out in those waves and I started getting smashed around and I was, scrambling to the surface to try and stay alive, and I'm paddling, trying to get past the waves that are going to, all of a sudden, all of my physical pain vanished because I had to, in order to survive, my body had to kick in. But what ended up over time, it took a while for all of the pain to go away and all of the physical problems to go away. And I'm 100% healed now. I mean, I went to the gym last night and I did squats that, that I never could have done. I got my legs and my ass are getting so big I can't fit into my shorts and my pants. And here I am 55 years old. I'm supposed to, based on my history, I'm not supposed to be able to do that. Point is that it doesn't matter how you feel. So stop waiting around for the feelings. It's going to feel like shit. Just get used to it. Just expect that it will be the most frightening thing you've ever done. But the feelings can't stop you from taking the action. So just take the action and deal with it. This is why you can't do this alone. You're going to have to do it with other people. You won't be able to do it alone. You said controllable perception. You think you can control things, so get rid of that idea. You can't control your feelings, you can't control other people, and you can't control the outcome of anything. The only thing that you have any control over, and even that is minimal, is what you choose to invest in. If you choose to invest in the belief that the universe wants you to be crazy happy, and if you choose to believe that the universe will supply you with all of the needs that you need in order to get what you want, you have control over that, a tiny bit of control to invest in that, and you have control over the actions that you take. You don't have any control over anything else, any feelings or any people or any outcomes. That's why my ancestors didn't say, for those who take action and win the world, they go to Valhalla. They said those who die in battle. which means people who are willing to die for what they want. And if you're not willing to die for what you want will end up killing you. Do you hear what I just said? If you're not willing to die for what you want will end up killing you. This is why people die of cancer, why they die of heart disease, why they die of, name it, fibromyalgia, I don't give a shit. Disease is the sign that you have given up on your soul desire and you're furious at yourself and you've pushed it down into your unconscious and it's gone into your physical tissues. So if you want to be healthy, take actions that scare the shit out of you. Go through the depression and the craziness and the doubt and all of the fucked up feelings that come as a result of taking action on your fear. And you'll be healthy. You might be crazy. You might be miserable and unhappy and full of self-doubt and fear and all that, but those are just feelings. It just means you're alive. Stop trying to control your feelings, because it's not getting you anywhere. Robert Seaman. Question: would practicing celestial qigong be a benefit or a risk for someone who has been diagnosed with bipolar disorder and PTSD? I don't know. I know it would be potentially a risk for somebody who was schizophrenic. If you've heard voices in the past, you should go see a traditional Chinese medicine doctor and ask them. Ask them if you should do it. My experience is that for the most part, it heals people. But I've heard stories of people when they do high-level energy qigong that they get energy sickness and they go crazy. So, and I've seen some qigong practitioners who will state, on their website, if you have schizophrenia, do not practice qigong. So, PTSD is something else. I have PTSD. What I went through with my brother gave me PTSD. Bipolar disorder, I don't know enough about that. The truth is that names like bipolar disorder, they keep shifting those names around, and they throw names on other symptoms, and it's you get locked in a thing. So I don't know enough about bipolar disorder. I don't know if that's a chemical thing. I don't know if it's emotional. But the thing you can do, I would recommend, is start with the Hool breath. If you haven't done that, it's the you can just Google it. HUUL breath meditation. Just type in Hool breath meditation and do that. If when you do that you feel better, then try some of the other qigong I have on the free channel. If you can do like Thor's hammer, for example, and you feel better afterwards, then you can do celestial qigong and you should be fine. All right. So, no more questions that I can see here. So, speaking of celestial qigong, I'll put that up here. Remember, again, if you run out of questions, I'm going to try and sell you stuff. And then once I've sold you stuff and there's no more questions, then it's time to stop streaming. So we'll look at celestial qigong again, and then if there are any questions, I'll answer them. If not, we'll call it an evening. Hi, I'm Michael Denny of SpiritTao.com, and this is Celestial Negung Part 1. Celestial Negung means that this is power that is descending from heaven. And the idea is that we are all microcosms of the entire universe. You are the entire universe, and everything around you is simply the projection. You are looking within yourself. So when you look up into the stars at night, you're actually looking deep within your own body. When you look at the sun, the moon, the trees, the flowers, you're looking within yourself. This is Negom. And so what we're doing is we're simply releasing that infinity from within us. You are tapping into and releasing the power that is within our own body, our own cells, our own organs. So one of the reasons that I'm making this DVD is in the hope that the essence and the spirit of the teaching of the Shang Qing arts can be taught to the world at large, and it is my hope that the core essence of what the Shang Qing tradition is will continue to live and grow and evolve. As we move on into the Aquarian age, everything is changing. I don't need to tell you that. The entire world is changing, and what we are seeing now is that if people hold on to external things, they are very challenged in life. And those who are making the transition into the next phase that we are moving into in the world as we approach 2012, those who look within and find their source of strength from within, those are the people who are getting the most out of life and will make the transition into the next phase of evolution most comfortably. It is my belief that the Shang Qing tradition is one method whereby human beings can evolve into the next level of being in the most comfortable fashion and be able to take advantage of the rapid, energetic, mental, and spiritual changes that are going on in the world today. All right, I'm back. All right, so I read something here from, can you believe that was 10 years ago? You know what I see when I look at that? When you turn to the side, you can see the bald spot on the back of my head. That's the only thing I see there. I remember seeing that. I was in a restaurant, and you can't see it when you look at yourself and you comb your hair. You can't see this part of your head. And we were at a restaurant where there were two mirrors, and I saw the bald spot on the back of my head, and I'm like, oh my God. That's when I started cutting my hair really short and then eventually shaving. So Daggerus says here, I never heard voices in the past, but it took a while of trying to hear spirits and communicate with them before I started hearing them. Started with feeling something come up behind me and ask what I was doing. Then again telling me happy birthday when I felt lonely. As I felt something's presence again months later after doing the Qigong, I started feeling something there more often. So hang on. Are you saying that it sounds like you didn't hear the voices until you started doing the Qigong. Now, it sounds like you heard it, and then there was a period where you didn't hear voices, and then you did the Qigong and you started hearing it again. So this is what I mean. There's something missing in what you're telling me. There's something that you're not telling me about this. But the first thing is, why are you trying to do this? Look, this is coming from your own personal issues. This is the bottom line here. This is coming from your own personal issues because that's not a normal thing. There are some people who are born with this ability, who have this ability where they can, talk to spirits, but they can turn it off. They know how to turn it off. You're actually trying to make it happen. You're trying to communicate with spirits. That tells me that you're very lonely, and it tells me that you are isolated and that you are trying to create a fantasy world where you're moving away from living here in this world with other people. So you've told me that you've gone through some trauma, and this is a thing that people do who have trauma. This is your drug addiction. This is why people take drugs, so they can be out and disconnect. But the idea of wanting to connect with a spirit in order to feel better, the assumption that somehow communicating with spirits is somehow different than communicating with people. If there are screwed up people in the world, there's screwed up spirits out there. So the thing to do is you need to start socializing with people that are alive, not go out of your way to try and force a spiritual connection where you're talking to spirits. It's not healthy. There's one thing when you go do, um, a shamanic journey to talk to yourself and talk to your higher self and all that. But, if you're doing it because you want out, that's why playing with Ouija boards is so destructive. Because people do it to have some other connection. They're lonely, they're bored. It's coming from your own insecurity. It's coming from your own need and your pain, and it's unhealthy. So, like I said, there's something wrong with your story. I don't know what came first. So, you were doing okay until you forced it. So it's like you forced open something. So now you're going to have to fix your boundaries. See, it was confusing when you told me that, because one of the things that I do with people who have entity issues is I teach them celestial qigong, and the vibration of the celestial qigong will drive away the entities because it comes from the spirit fighting. So what I would recommend that you do is I would recommend that you do the Thurisage Rune Mudra meditation. It's on my channel. Do that, because that will empower your boundaries. You need to consciously be aware that you have chosen to break open your boundaries out of your own psychological unresolved pain. By the way, the reason why people become possessed, I learned this when I was an exorcist. People become possessed because in every single case that I did exorcisms, every single one of them, every single case where I did exorcisms, the person who was possessed because they had been physically, sexually, or emotionally severely abused. And they had major trauma. And what was happening is that when somebody has that kind of an issue, it creates a scenario where they push the memory into their unconscious. And they have a lot of pain, a lot of emotional trauma and pain. And as is understandable, people try and avoid the pain. And when the pain is so great and the issues are trying to come to the surface, then what ends up happening is that people send out a vibration to whatever that they want to be distracted. And so negative entities feed off of fear and negative emotions. So they come, and what ends up happening is that there's an unconscious contract. And the unconscious, meaning you're not aware of it, the unconscious contract is that you say to the entity, I am full of pain and trauma, and I can't tolerate, and I don't want to deal with it, and I need to be distracted. And the entity says, great, no problem. I will attack you. I will torment you. I will possess you. And that will cause so much drama that you won't have time to deal with your actual pain. And that creates the contract. And every time that I did the exorcism, in order to get the demon to leave, I had to get the person to acknowledge who abused them and to forgive them. And you'd be surprised how many people didn't want to forgive their abuser. And I'm like, you don't have a choice. If you don't forgive your abuser, this demon isn't going to go away. And people would rather be demon possessed than to face the pain, the sadness, the pain, the trauma of being harmed. Really, it's amazing. So you're telling me that you've gone out of your way to create this connection with spirits, even when it wasn't working. You worked really, 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 really hard. So you were constantly sending out these messages that you're bored and you're lonely and you're scared and you're in pain and you want out, and you think talking to spirits is going to do that for you. And some showed up. Or worse, you manufactured spirits. This is what poltergeists are, by the way. Poltergeists are not evil spirits. They are the unconscious thought forms of the person. So maybe you created some thought forms that now say happy birthday to you. I can get that. My parents never. I mean, the two most painful days of the year for me to this day are Christmas and my birthday, because those are the days when you're supposed to be surrounded by people who loved you. And my parents never did. They would call me, a week after my birthday, and my dad would be drunk on the phone saying, your mother told me your birthday was last week. Like, fuck you. Very painful. So of course, now they're going to say, they don't tell you something valuable like how to become enlightened or how to empower yourself, which is what happens when you take a shamanic journey. You've had a shamanic journey when you come back with information that helps everybody. The Hool breath is something I came back with from a shamanic journey. Wasn't just for me. If they're just telling you happy birthday, I'm telling you, spirits don't do that. High level spirits don't do that. This is coming from your need. This is why you need counseling. You need counseling. I don't care if you go to a psychiatrist or a psychologist, but you need counseling. So that you don't have to manufacture a scenario where somebody says happy birthday to you when you're feeling bad. Okay? So you're out of balance here. All right. All right. So that's it for me. Again, these links are up here for a reason. I recommend that you go to them and use them. neo.thunderwizard.com is the, really, it's if I were to condense everything that I think you need, it's in those. If you don't want to learn all of the ritual and all of the runes and all of the meditations and all of the mantra and all of the other thing, the thunder shamanism, you can go neo.thunderwizard.com. Will give you the 4 main things that you need. Courses.thunderwizard.com has all of my books, all of my videos, all of my services. Go check it out and see what works for you. Outside of that, I am going to call it an evening. Thank you so much, everybody. And I will look forward to seeing you again very soon. By the way, Daggerus, I hope you don't feel like I have just chastised you. I actually care for you and I want you to feel better. But I'm giving you the bitter medicine. You got to deal with your unresolved pain. And you're going to have to get some counseling. You can't do it alone. Otherwise, this kind of shit's going to keep happening. Okay? And it's unnecessary. I'm sorry that you went through whatever you went through. Trust me, I know. It's very painful. But this is it. This is the only way out. You got to face it and you got to do it with help, and you got to find somebody who can help you, and it has to be a professional. Whether it's a spiritual counselor or a psychologist, somebody's going to have to help you through this. All right, that's it for me, you guys. I will talk to you later.